Hello and welcome to my session. It's really a pleasure to be joining you here today for this exciting event and share with you some of the really interesting insights that we've gathered around Asia. I'm George Kesselman. I'm a head of commercial for ZhongAn. We're part of the ZhongAn group, and based on our experience, I think we have a very unique perspective and vantage point on this topic of digital partnerships and how to grow those in Asia. So can you bring up my slides, please? And let's start first by giving you a little bit of a context of where we're coming from. We, as a ZhongAn group, have been a pioneer in this area, and we've started off this in a very interesting market. We started off in China, and up to this point, we've grown it to a very, very large number. So we're working across 5 major ecosystems with more than 300 ecosystem partners. And that's something that gave us a very, very good foundation for working with the digital partners, and it helped us cultivate this particular approach. This was something that was part of the DNA of the ZhongAn as the digital insurance and InsurTech movement started to gather pace. The reason why I share this with you is to also give you a perspective of the kind of the history of where we came from. And as we looked at the international markets, that also gave us a very, very interesting place to start. So as we started to scale internationally, this is where ZhongAn was born. And ZhongAn focused on the technology, and we ended up working with a large number of partners. And that's where digital partnerships, I think, is such a very interesting topic, and it's something that is deeply relevant to us. We're working with, you can see some of the names that are leading digital platforms in Asia and Southeast Asia and beyond. And what was interesting is how do we take the approach that was cultivated in the single market and then expand it across different markets. And that's usually one of the most challenging things to do with whatever innovation you build, is how do you scale that innovation across international markets? And that also becomes a real test of how this approach scales. And we believe that our approach has been proven successful, and you can see the examples are really on this page. So we have 300 million insurance policies that was issued through this digital partners that we work with more than 6 million monthly active users. So the number of customers and the number of policies, it also shows you that the digital partners is no longer kind of this hypothetical concept of some digital platforms experimenting with something with insurance. This really showcases that the growth is really coming into this digital ecosystems. What's interesting, I guess, in this journey is that we are a relatively young company in international markets. So ZhongAn itself is just reached the 3rd year milestone. So within the 3 years, that growth has been really exceptional. And digital partnerships was something that really helped us to scale. And that's where I think it's interesting to share this with you. And hopefully this is something that can be learned for both the Thailand markets and for the other markets that you joining us here today. So how we looked at the ecosystem is that basically there's 3 different parts. You have the insurance, which is very much about the product design, the insurer management of all the kind of things that the insurers focus on, the operational aspects. Then you have the tech, which enables that kind of connectivity, the insurance to be embedded and insurance to be worked in this digital ecosystems. And then you have a distribution, which is many digital partnerships that are you're hearing around the region. We have basically every single platform in the last 1 year came to a conclusion that insurance is a very, very powerful add-on. And that's in itself is a very powerful moment for insurance. because it allows insurance to be brought to the next level, because all the consumers are using these digital applications, they're using digital services, they're embracing the digital and internet ecosystem. And insurance is something that has been maybe a little bit behind other things like e-commerce or payments, but insurance is really quickly catching up. And this is the kind of the three components that once you bring them together, the digital partnerships are enabled through it. And it's also something that we realized that scaling as a technology platform like we are in international markets, ZA Tech is that necessary building block of this collaboration across the three parties, because we've also seen examples with the internet platforms try to work directly with insurers, and then the level of maturity, the technology, and the kind of gaps in between are really, really large between the insurance and the internet platforms. And we've seen some examples where that leads to really some bad outcomes, where the internet platform starts to work with the insurer. There was some really interesting example coming up from one of the large markets in Southeast Asia, where they had a campaign. It was a special day, like an annual sales campaign for the e-commerce platform. And on that day, the insurer offered a free insurance. But on that day itself, halfway through the day, the whole internet e-commerce platform stopped. It crashed the site. And then when they tried to recover, investigate what caused that crash, actually turned out to be an insurance company systems couldn't cope with the volume of requests coming in from the e-commerce. And that's also kind of the examples that we're hearing coming in from different parts of the Asia, where the insurers are starting to catch up, but it's still the technology and the maturity is still not quite at the level where the internet companies are. And that's why we play this role of bridging the two ecosystems together. And you can also see that we work very closely with some of the ecosystems to help them think through this insurance proposition. So we'll talk a little bit more about this in subsequent pages. What I also wanted to mention is that we've done something very interesting this year. We said the ecosystem and the digital partnerships are maturing very quickly, but it's also we're kind of seeing different parts of the ecosystem. We thought, let's try to combine all these insights and synthesize what does that really mean? What is the size of this whole opportunity for insurance in Southeast Asia? And we had a real fun working with the BCG Consulting, where they brought in their team to build this report together with us. And we basically spoke to many of the leading unicorn companies across different markets. And we asked them, how do they think about insurance? Is it a priority for them? And many other questions to try to get a very extract the insight from those platforms. And what we surfaced was very, very interesting. It kind of confirmed what we already were sensing as well, is that insurance is a big priority for these platforms, and all of them want to partner with insurers to create these propositions. But what's also interesting is that we've surfaced some opportunity, size of the opportunity to be in the coming years is going to be to grow about $10 billion in Southeast Asia alone. So that means that from something that was an experiment, something that was kind of a by the way thing, it becomes a really, really big component of the insurance distribution. So something that I think is pretty exciting to everybody in insurance, and also in the internet platforms, they also see insurance as a very powerful add-on. I've included the QR code. You can kind of have a read of the report if you're interested to find out some details around that. So there's a number of collaboration models that are present for the digital partnerships. And it goes through from something that can be very simple to something that can be very, very integral and very deep partnership. So let me just take you through a couple of examples and a couple of different models that we are most common. The simplest one is something that is more akin to the proof of concept, proof of value, and the commercial. It can be just in a matter of weeks when the partner and the insurer starts to work together. And then usually there'll be at least two parties. We're also seeing examples like when the partners are working with us, there's basically a tri-party arrangement with the InsurTech also being involved. And this is really about finding that chemistry fit between the partners. This is a very good way to start. And we've also seen examples where it has worked really well, but also some examples where it didn't really go so well from the start, where there was a lot of friction, there was a lot of miscommunication. And I think that gave both parties right away a sense that, okay, there's a bit of a red flag, let's not go ahead. Vice versa, most of the partnerships that we're seeing, when they start with a simple approach, it gives both partners a very good sense about quote unquote like a dating, a little bit of getting to know each other before for the commitment and as the partnership progresses. We've also seen the next type of partnerships, which is really about like a 1 to 6 month deeper alignment, deeper engagement, where the parties work together on a particular product, usually a launch, and usually it's very tactical, where they would say, here's a particular opportunity, we're trying to launch this product. This seems like a very good partner for us, and let's work together to launch this. And then they would kind of progress from there. And then the most integral partnership is where there's some sort of further alignment of interest, which is usually is in a form of either of investment, of an insurer investing in the platform, or they're creating a JV. We, for example, taken a JV approach with a couple of platforms because we find that it right away creates a very deep alignment. For us, it helped that, for example, when we're working with some of the platforms, we have a common investor. We're invested by SoftBank. So the SoftBank portfolio companies are very open to create these JVs with us. And we have created a very positive track record. So again, this kind of a collaboration, a very close, deep collaboration on the JV is something that we find that ultimately it needs to progress there. And as we kind of see both the partnership and the POC, those steps need to be monitored very, very carefully because the commitment is lower there. So let's say if the insurer and the platform can work together for a year later, it could be a revisit of this partnership, and there is no deep commitment behind that, so that the insurer can find itself in a position where they work together for a year and then somebody else comes in because it has either better capabilities or better products or better pricing that they can provide to the end customers. And the experience is one of those things as well. So I think as the people think about progression of the partnerships, generally towards a JV or some sort of a deeper alignment, this is good mental model to think about it, because it generally progress towards that, and it's better not to stop it, especially if it's a successful partnership. It's better to progress it rather than stopping it in a lower commitment. The other thing that I'll share is for this kind of partnerships, it is important to think about it as minimum viable product approach. And here's an example from the report that we've kind of just highlighted as well, to say that the approach of minimum viable product versus the traditional approach of building product is quite different. And what it focuses on creating this really rapid go-to-market and iteration, which allows all parties to test different products, different ideas very quickly, rather than building up. In the traditional approach, you will build up a very, very complicated product and spend maybe months and months ideating something and then launch it. And then a lot of the times in the digital ecosystem, especially digital partnerships, we found that this doesn't really work so well when you spend too much time designing a product. and then only launching there. Like with the technology products, this is very much about testing, learning, quickly adjusting, and MVP approach works really, really well on that by allowing the fine tuning of the product market fit. So on average, what we found, and this is common across different markets and different partners so far, is that it takes somewhere between 10 to 20 iterations of the product to find that product market fit. And most insurers, when they will hear this, they'll say, "Oh my God, we have not built our internal teams for it. We just want to launch this product. We want to find this silver bullet product from the start. And if the first product only sells very little, then it's not a success. Then the whole partnership is in jeopardy." That mindset needs to change, because this type of iteration and working together to find a very good product that fits and scales is something that is very key to success of this partnership. And having that mindset is also very, very important. So from the day one, the commitment should be, let's not just find one product, but let's stay through this journey to find something that works for the end users, works for the platform, the experiences there. So there's a lot of moving parts that can be optimized through this minimum viable product approach. And all those need to be played around together between the platform and insurer, and in the case of InsurTech partner be in the picture as well. So here's a couple of components to build a successful partnership. I think it's very important to ensure that there's alignment between the parties. And again, this can be done through multiple ways, and it is a little bit harder now with the world that we live in, with everything being done through screens. To build this alignment sometimes requires for you to stand in front of the whiteboard and draw together ideas. But at the same time, even through this remote environment that we're working in, that alignment can be done through many touch points, and ensuring that there's open communication. Then the speed is also another very, very important element of it, in the way that the digital and the ecosystems operate in a very, very different cadence and a speed from what we used to in the past as an insurance ecosystem and insurance industry, where the speed needs to be increased to say, if the product needs to be launched 3 weeks from now, how do we really put all of our resources together to launch it? And then the journey doesn't end at the first launch. They say the platform wants to launch the next product within 2 weeks, and then that speed is going to continue being there. And that speed by itself is important, but we need to combine it with the agility. So again, what we talked about in the previous page, where there's that agility of being able to experiment, optimize, and change different components, it is very, very important. And having that empathy, not only for the platform to say, why are they asking for a particular thing, or why is this feature important, but it's also empathy towards the end users, which in most of the cases is consumers. So what are the type of products, what are kind of experiences that the end user will see when they experience this insurance product, is something that is also very, very key as part of this building successful partnerships with these digital partners. So having all those elements combined, and at the core of it, as I kind of put it here, is that it's a culture. So this is not something that takes, it becomes overnight success, or it becomes something that you can just activate it by putting nice furniture in the office. It is a fairly long journey to adjust the culture, to really to kind of create these components to say, hey, we need to be fast, we need to be aligned with our partners, we need to be agile, and we also need to be empathetic to this needs. All those things together are part of the culture, and that's something that I think it takes time and takes effort for everybody to build it. And I've seen that there's general movement towards this overall in insurance industry, I would say in Asia. If you compare where we are right now versus where we were 5 years ago, I think there is definitely a big progress towards that, but there's still pockets of resistance, I would call it, like inertia, where there's some people who say, no, nothing has changed. Things will still be the same as they were 20 years ago. Let's focus on the same ways of doing things as we've always had. And I think that culture is generally not healthy. And maybe that works still for the traditional business. But when it comes to the digital business, it is very important to start to cultivate this culture of ownership, culture of delivering, culture of working quickly with the digital platforms, so that kind of successes can be very, very easily cultivated. And for us, this is the journey that we've been on in Southeast Asia. So we work with a lot of the insurers and a lot of the digital platforms to create those digital partnerships. And we've seen that, again, there's an explosion of interest in digital partnership space. Initially there was most of the focus have been on the embedded insurance. And now I would say that there's a lot of progress in terms of other different models, that there's online, offline, there's all kinds of interesting, innovative things that are happening across Asia that I think will really open up this world of digital partnerships to a whole different level. And I think ultimately this is exceptionally good for both insurance and for the consumers, because consumers will see a lot better insurance being brought closer to them in the places where they expect that. They will see a relevant protection that they need at the time where they really need that protection. And in the industry itself, the insurance will progress towards that, which I think is also a very, very positive thing. So rather than insurance always being seen as a laggard, as something that is very traditional and it's not kept up with the times, I think that pace of change in insurance is accelerating, and that's a very, very healthy thing for the insurance industry overall. And we play our small part in it to help to drive things along. And I'm very happy to share those insights with you. And again, this is a fantastic event put together in Thailand, and we're really, really excited to see more things happening in Thailand as an exceptional place where the InsurTech can be cultivated as well. Thank you very much.